Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you at the Saints facility, and the Saints probably feel like they totally lucked out. They had the pick of the litter as far as on defense, and with the number 11 overall pick, they take Ohio State cornerback Marshon Lattimore. Jeff, I think it's a consensus overall no-brainer pick. They had the pick of any defensive player that was really on the board, probably had 5 or 6 guys. Lattimore fills a need, and he's the best cornerback. Really consensus throughout this draft process.
Yeah, I think they probably were surprised in the war room that he was still available. Most mock drafts leading up to this, I know both of our mocks had him off the board in the top 5 or 6 picks. So I think it was a shock for them to have him there, and they had so many defensive players available. They probably had a little discussion on did they want to go linebacker, or Jonathan Allen was there from Alabama. But I think in the end they needed a cornerback. We all know they haven't taken one that high in a long time, and this guy was the #1 guy on the board.
Hopefully he doesn't, for Saints fans, doesn't turn out like the last time the Saints took a corner at number 11. I'm sorry I'm bringing up old wounds. Alex Molden, he's the last time they had a number 11 pick. But not trying to be Debbie Downer, Lattimore does have some injury concerns. Hamstring issues did sideline him for most of his career. But to me, it just goes to show you, you have these issues, you play 1 year, and the consensus top cornerback after only 1 year, I think that shows you just what kind of talent the Saints could be getting with Lattimore.
Right, and with so many injuries at the position on the Saints roster, we've talked about it before, Delvin Breaux, Damian Swan, P.J. Williams, literally almost every cornerback on the Saints roster was hurt a year ago.
Right.
Obviously, it's not good to have a guy with injury history coming in, but it also fills a need. They needed to get a cornerback at that position. They play in a division with Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, a lot of big receivers. This is a guy that's got good size, fits the prototype that Dennis Allen likes the position. So it makes perfect sense for me. They can come back at the end of this round, which I expect they will, and address the pass rush needs.
You read the comparisons of what Lattimore and what some of the draft pundits say. They say he's in either Avonte Davis or Akeem Talib without the headaches. And so, to me, it seems like the Saints were probably doing backflips. They saw they had too many guys to discuss in so little time. I'm wondering if they actually pondered trading back because they had a bunch of options. I know Hassan Reddick came off the board at 13, Derek Barnett at 14. I'm sure those were within the Saints' cloud as well.
Yeah, you know, I think what was happening here in the top of the draft was because the draft is so deep in defensive players, teams were saying, hey, let's get these offensive guys because they're at a premium.
It's amazing.
And we can come back and get the defensive players or somebody similar later in the draft, and we ended up with 7 offensive players in the top 10. No one predicted that.
No.
So it really worked out for once in the Saints' favor this time.
Well, quarterback, went 3 in the top 12, including multiple trades, 3 trades for all of them to get them all. Right. It's amazing the ins and outs of this draft. But yeah, number 32 pick, last pick. This probably wipes away a Malcolm Butler trade. Those probably off the board anyway. And the Saints, I was a big proponent of them going to get Malcolm Butler, but they stayed patient. I got to give it to the Saints. They stayed patient and got the best corner in the draft. Now they can be really flexible at 32. And Jeff, what are you thinking that they could go look at?
Well, there's that pool of second-tier kind of pass rushers, Tack McKinley, Taco Charlton, T.J. Watt, any of those guys, Jordan Willis,
right.
Any of those guys might be there, or they may end up making a move up to try and get one of those guys if it's somebody they really like. But I don't think they're going to bypass an edge rusher here. I'll be shocked if they don't get one, unless all those guys are off the board.
I feel like there will be some depth there, so you could certainly, all those guys you mentioned, I think will be candidates. So it'll be interesting to see. And once they make that 32nd pick, Jeff and I will be back on Facebook Live, and we'll be doing this throughout the draft process. So again, Saints take Marshon Lattimore, cornerback at Ohio State at number 11 overall. We both think it's a very good pick. I'm sure overall, I bet you the draft world probably feels the same way. So for Larry, for Jeff, we'll be back here later on Facebook Live. So thanks for joining us.